Dear students of class 10A and 10B, in my previous class I taught you the point of, Gandhi-Irwin Pact. I discussed about the terms of the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Today I shall discuss about the importance of the second round table conference, and then I shall explain about the Quit India movement. Under the terms of the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Gandhiji agreed to join the second round table conference in London. But the second round table conference was deadlocked on the minorities issues, and the separate electorates being demanded by not only the Muslims but also other communities of India, like the depressed classes, like the Christians, like the Europeans, Anglo-Indians. They all demanded separate electorates as minor parties of India. Naturally, the main demand with which Gandhiji went to England to join the second round table conference, the demand of dominion status, the British rejected. The British did not grant the main demand of Congress, the dominion status. And so Gandhiji had to return to India disappointed. Gandhiji returned to India empty-handed because the British did not grant the dominion status, which was the main demand of Gandhiji. Gandhiji once again decided to renew the civil disobedience movement. Since the main demand of the Congress was rejected, Gandhiji renewed the civil disobedience movement. So the civil disobedience movement once again renewed by Gandhiji. But this time British government was very much conscious. British government decided to arrest all the Congress leaders, and before arresting other Congress leaders, the British immediately arrested Gandhiji. But ultimately, under direct action of the British, the Quit India movement, which was started by Gandhiji for the second time, it lost its power. It lost its power. But ultimately what happened? Gandhiji, before it lost its power, Gandhiji found out one idea. What was it? Gandhiji encouraged the youth of India to be a part of his movement. All the youth of India strongly supported the stand of Gandhiji, and Gandhiji's movement once again gained, strong support from the youth of India. It is due to that reason, in the year 1942, when Japan had become a striking force for the Britishers, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Britain Winston Churchill, declared that at the end of the Second World War, the British would send Stafford Cripps, the member of War Cabinet, to open a discussion with all political parties regarding their demand of dominion status and at the same time they would break the deadlock between the Congress and the British. It is due to that reason the British discouraged, other political parties not to be a part of the Congress. But the British failed to do so. Why? Because of the outstanding personality of Gandhiji, because of the programs of Gandhiji, whatever program he adopted, he realized it. Both Gandhiji and the Congress workers had a good interaction. That's why everyone had great faith for Gandhiji and his leadership. That's why Gandhiji, decided to talk to the Cripps Mission. The Cripps Mission, which was sent to India, just tried to break the deadlock between the British and the Congress leaders. Ultimately, Cripps Mission decided to accept or to grant the Dominion status. The Dominion status. But that very Dominion status which the British granted, failure. Brief short, it is due to the reason, my dear students, the Dominion status they decided to grant, but Gandhiji did not want to accept the demand of Dominion status. Why? Because Gandhiji's main demand was complete independence. Now, under what circumstances had the Congress strongly demanded complete independence instead of Dominion status? That matter I have to clear before you. You know, in the year 1929, the Congress decided to give an ultimatum to the British government that within 1 year, either the British would grant the demand of Dominion status or they would start another wave of movement throughout the country. But that very ultimatum, which was given by the Congress to the British for 1 year, within 1 year the British remained silent, but within 1 year there was no, initiative came on the part of the British. The British did not take any initiative within 1 year. So the Congress felt insulted. The members of the Congress party felt insulted. Gandhiji and other political leaders, they decided to consult with each other. The demand of the Congress, Dominion status, was not granted by the British. They were thinking to do it so, but they did not want to grant it immediately. Just they were waiting. That incident took place in the year 1929. You please keep in mind the year when the Congress first started motivating the British by demanding Dominion status, but the British did not grant it. That incident took place in the year 1929. They demanded Dominion status under the terms of Nehru report. As per the Nehru report, their first demand was Dominion status, and that's why the Congress strongly demanded Dominion status, but gave 1 year ultimatum to the British, but the British did not take any initiative and did not grant the Dominion status. Then, in the same year, under the presidency of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the Congress adopted, the Congress decided to produce the demand of complete independence instead of dominion status. The Congress, under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, during midnight beside the Gange, beside the rivers Ravi in Pakistan, besides the river Ravi in Pakistan, the Congress party under the presidency of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru raised for India's first three-color flag, and took a pledge that 26th of January would be observed as Independence Day of India. Since they took an oath, their main demand would be complete independence, complete Swaraj instead of dominion status. That's why, my dear students, whenever the second round table conference failed, whenever the British did not accept the dominion status, Gandhiji decided, in consultation with other Congress leaders, Gandhiji decided to give them an ultimatum. But still, the British had no repercussion. They did not grant the dominion status. Afterwards, the Congress under the leadership of Gandhiji started civil disobedience movement for the second time. Means Gandhiji renewed the civil disobedience movement. But meanwhile, the British, started arresting many numbers of Congress workers, including Gandhiji. The movement had become weak. Unity between the Hindus and Muslims also worsened. And as a result of it, Gandhiji got himself detached with Indian politics for 1 year. And afterwards, in the year 1942, when Japan was marching towards the eastern part of India, Gandhiji felt that the presence of British in India would nothing but an invitation to Japan to invade India. That's why Gandhiji strongly, in order to stop Japanese attack, communicated a message to the British that either they would leave the country or Gandhiji would start a new movement. The British remained silent. Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of England, openly declared that at the end of the Second World War, he sent a mission under the leadership of Sir Stafford Cripps, and that mission would accept the demand of dominion status and other demands in consultation with all Indian political parties. But during that period, the British decided to grant dominion status. Congress took an oath that they would not accept the acceptance of dominion status, but strongly they would demand complete independence, do or die. That's why Gandhiji started the Quit India movement. The Quit India movement, although Cripps mission failed to achieve success. Now why? What was the reason the Cripps mission failed to achieve success? In a nutshell, I am telling you 2 points. Number 1, most of the political leaders, they strongly demanded for the dominion status. Demanded for complete independence instead of dominion status. The Muslim League, Christians, Europeans, Anglo-Indians, depressed classes, Hindu Mahasabha, they all strongly opposed all the proposals given to the Indian leaders by Cripps Mission. That's why Cripps Mission failed to achieve success. Gandhiji quoted, it was nothing but a post-dated check on a failing bank, and started the Quit India movement, do or die. Quit India, quit our country in the hands of God. Either they would leave the country or they would start armed rebellion. Although Gandhiji did not claim it, but it was claimed by Jayaprakash Narayan, one of the eminent leader of the underground movement in India. Jayaprakash Narayan strongly demanded that they would start armed rebellion throughout the country. And Gandhiji started another movement, do or die, karenge ya marenge. Why? Because of the reason the British did not want to give any promise. The Cripps Mission did not give any promise to grant independence in future, complete independence in future. That's why Gandhiji started the Quit India movement. This Quit India movement had great impact throughout the country. What impact? Almost all people of India, they decided to join the movement, Quit India movement. Why? Only because of the reason they were determined to make our country free from British control. And at the same time, all over the country there were strikes, demonstrations, lathi charge of British authorities, police stations. These all were barricaded, but the British police started arresting the people of India. There were strikes, demonstrations throughout the country, and common people also became a part of Indian national movement. Quit India movement had become an important source for the freedom fighters of all places, including the rural villages, interior villages. They also raised India's tricolor flag, Vande Mataram, against the British government. And at the same time, Indian Congress leaders also, they strongly supported the Indian people to be united against the British rule. And as a result of it, in 1945, as soon as the Second World War ended, the British decided to shift power to the Indians. And for that reason, only because what was the another factor? Ultimately, the British agree to shift power to the Indians only because of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who started fighting against the British from abroad, entered India with Japanese force and recovered certain places of India from the control of the British by defeating the British soldiers. But ultimately, due to heavy rain and due to the defeat of Japan during the Second World War, British defeated the soldiers of INA, Indian National Army. The Indian National Army, INA, which was duly trained under the leadership of under the leadership of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. He motivated them by saying it, give me blood, I will give you freedom. The soldiers had been fighting against the British soldiers with a hope that they would be able to make the country free from British control. The British would leave the country. But the fate of the INA was cemented. The fate of the INA cemented because of Japanese defeat in the Second World War. Japan had to surrender, and as soon as Japan surrendered, the Second World War came to an end. The Second World War was over. Meanwhile, the British thought that the Indians should be given their right to rule the country by themselves. They ruled above 200 years. They ruled that very country above 200 years. Now the time has come to leave India for the Indian people, Indian educated people. That's why ultimately the British decided to shift power to the Indians. After this, my dear students, thank you.